Today's show is sponsored by our friends at distilleryproducts.com. If you are a bourbon group or you are a store or a distillery and you need custom laser etched glassware at wholesale prices, that means the prices are pretty damn good, y'all. Check out distilleryproducts.com. I am happy to get you in touch with them. It is a family-owned and operated business. Carson, Janie, Vicky, all the good folks over there at distilleryproducts.com. They not only have laser etched glassware, they also have awesome swag like customized flasks and other cool things like drink stirrers. Check it all out. Go to distilleryproducts.com, see for yourself, and reach out to me. I would love to get you in touch with them. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Orca Coolers. It is summer. Summer is hot. It's hot everywhere. You need a cooler that is going to be able to hold ice while it's hot. And Orca Coolers has that. They also have awesome tumblers. They have a barrel tumbler. It looks like a little whiskey barrel. Check them all out at orcacoolers.com. Use code DADSEASON and get 20% off your order. That's DADSEASON. Make sure to check them out. Get a cooler or a tumbler. I mean, that cooler holds ice 3, 4, 5 days, no problem. I mean, you open that thing up after a few days, the ice looks like you just put it in there. Make sure to go to orcacoolers.com and use code DADSEASON. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Action247.com, Tennessee's only sportsbook by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. And this week, there is another 100K free-to-play game. Check out their NFL Week 1 challenge because it is the preseason. And there is going to be weekly promos leading up to the college and NFL regular seasons. This week, Tuesday through Sunday, bet $15 on any NFL preseason game and get a $30 free bet. There's MLB parlays. There's action boosts. Make sure to check them out and use code DADS100. You will get matched up to $400 of your first deposit at action247.com. Cheers.
So I have a newfound affinity or appreciation, I guess, for bundle packs. We've always been a proponent of the bundle pack. And by that, I mean, to get one bottle, you have to buy 1 or 2 or maybe 3 other things that normally you wouldn't buy, but it's linked to allocations, limited offerings, etc. And it's just hoops that stores must jump through to get them. So in that regard, we've grasped the concept for a while. But recently it kind of hit me in a different way, in the sense of, at least the past few months, when you and I kind of bicker or ramble about things that upset us, first world problem style, it's very simply, I look at the bar of the opens, but I don't feel like having anything memorable or special. I just, I want to sit back and have a pour and catch up on this or that to-do list or watch this program, etc. But then you feel bad because most of the opens are, they're worth more than that to you. So you need that burner bottle or bottles in your life. Now here's where the bundle pack has a whole new relevancy to me, because you got these bottles and they're usually not bad. Would you buy them on your own independently, like, on a Tuesday afternoon in a store? No, you don't go looking for them. You've had them. They're not bad pours. They're just not what you're looking to buy necessarily. But if you've already got it, you don't feel bad if that's your burner pour. I don't know. It just hit me like an epiphany. I've seen things differently.
You know what really annoys me?
Like little stubbly hairs on your head?
No, I shave those. But when you go to tell a story and you say, then do a big pause like that, and then I have to edit it out, that really annoys me.
At least I don't stutter.
Oh, no, you stutter. You want me to send you the audio of it?
I mean like a speech impediment, not like thinking.
You think whatever you want to think there, Fluffy Bunny. Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. See if you can put together a sentence for me quickly, concisely, like a normal human being. How are you?
I was good until you claimed I stuttered. Now I've got to call into the ADA over A, you made fun of me for stuttering, which I didn't even think was a problem. So B, I'm even going to link it in to give me anxiety over a problem I didn't know I had. So not only have you made fun of a disability, which I don't think is a disability, but you've created a second one. 3 strikes, you're out.
I can't wait. I am so going to send audio of you stuttering because I try to edit it out all the time. A lot of times it's I, something like that. You'll start a sentence like I just did. I said you'll twice. You'll be like, I think, something like that. And then, of course, we know Zeke's the king of breathing in big before.
A deep breath before a concentrated thought, a stutter?
No, it's not a stutter. I'm just saying it's a tick. It's one of your ticks.
You and I both know I try to think before I speak. It helps most days.
It also helps that your partner is a great editor and can edit together your sentence so it sounds like you said it normally instead of breaking it up 18 times. And the reason I say this is because I asked some people today on the grams. I said, Zeke and I are going to do a show. What do you want to hear us talk about? And more than one person wrote back about your voice. And I was just thinking to myself, if they only knew what went in to making Zeke's voice sound as smooth as it does. And that is an appropriate time to use the word smooth. You cannot use smooth when describing whiskey, but you can use smooth in describing Zeke Baker's voice.
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
So here are some things that people want to know, and I'm going to save them for the next show we are doing as well. First question comes from Whiskey Mutant. So our friend up in Kentucky, Eric, what's one expression, past or present, that is a dream barrel pick for you guys? So if you could have a dream barrel pick, what would it be?
Probably getting too hung up on expressions, so I won't. And I will simply say pre-fire, Heaven Hill, uncut, unfiltered.
That would be really fun. I almost wonder, like, when he asked this, because what's one expression, past or present, that you're going to do a barrel pick of? Well, would we have to go back in time? Would we have the knowledge that we have in our head now before we do this pick? And am I overthinking this?
Probably. I mean, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, clearly everyone took that whiskey for granted. I mean, it was literally maybe one of the last ones to even catch up on secondary. Look how long anything that said Stitzel-Weller or Old Fitz or the Van Winkle line just boomed, which we will not go down the rabbit hole. But all the juice the Van Winkles sourced and sold over the years came from more than Stitzel-Weller, but everyone bundles it together. It also never won as awards as a wheater, but that's what everyone loves and wants now.
Hey, you said bundle again.
Good. We'll make it a game.
Every time Zeke says bundled, take a sip. I would love to do some of the old National Distillers, like some of that old Eagle Rare, or do a cheesy gold foil. What? Why? You do these faces. People can't see them.
Because I'm trying to play catch up. I grasp what you're saying. You meant 1, 2, or 3, but in my ears I heard, yeah, some of that old ND juice, like an Eagle Rare or like a cheesy gold foil. And I was like, no, none of those are NDs. Like, what's he talking about?
No.
It just kind of like it rolled that way into it.
Sorry, that's not what I meant. But some of the old ND juice, those old Eagle Rares, and then cheesy gold foil. You know, but it would probably be a dusty. Like I would love to pick some pre-prohibition juice. You know, like I've never had it. That's one thing I would love to try. I've never had pre-prohibition stuff, and I would like to just try it once, see what it was like.
I think I may have some Mount Vernon rye somewhere around here.
Help a brother out. This one I liked. I'm kind of torn because I don't know how we could do enough. Maybe we'd have to do like a pick'em thing. When will there be a Dad's Drinking Bourbon fantasy football league, and can I get in? I don't know how we could do a fantasy football league. I mean, we have 57,000 people on Instagram and 25,000 in our private Facebook group. I don't know how we could do enough that, you know, maybe it would have to be a pick'em league. If you pick the most winners at the end, there's it would obviously be for a bottle or something, but I don't know. We'll have to come back to that one. D-Ball 7. Other question, thoughts on the new, same person, thoughts on the new PHC release. So Parker's Heritage this year, it came out today. Parker's Heritage is going to be a 11-year heavy char wheat. We know they already put out the Heavy Char Bourbon and they put out a Heavy Char Rye. I feel like this is probably the last of the Heavy Char series. I'm not sure where you stand on this, Zeke, but I mean, unless they're doing Heavy Char Mellow Corn, I can't imagine there's going to be more Heavy Char in the PHC. So I don't know. I mean, this is like Old Fitz 11-year Heavy Char.
I mean, the only thing that I would hope to show a difference without jumping the shark for this show would be that hopefully that Heavy Char and the fact that it's with a wheated mash bill, which should normally allow the wood to have more of an influence than other mash bills, it finally really showcases what the Heavy Char does. Because with the previous two, I just never thought it did. And maybe it was just the fact the visuals of seeing the Heavy Char staves sitting side by side with what was in their normal barrels and it being such a stark difference. But juice-wise, I didn't think it translated. So maybe the wheat being, somewhat of an open medium, it allows more of those wood-driven nutrients to have more of an effect on the final expression. But other than that, I think they've proven their point with Heavy Char.
And spoiler alert, because this is probably going to be our episode on Friday, but the Old Fitz 11 that is the fall release, I already kind of feel like is Heavy Char anyway. And I don't know what Heavy Char is going to do. I got a lot of oak and char on it. That's just me, spoiler alert. But I don't know what more char is going to do at that point to an 11-year-old wheated mash bill.
Without us sounding too hypocritical, because admittedly, aren't necessarily fans of the copycat movement, which happens in all brands, all types of consumer products. One does it, the other does it, the other, etc. And in the realm of finish and experimental releases, Heaven Hill has somewhat bucked the trend up until now with just, I guess, the redundancy of Heavy Char and everything. I guess under the same token, I still feel like there had to be some other angle of experimentation they wanted to try, or possibly just some super old barrels or some other mingling or blending of the mash bills that would have been new. It just doesn't pop or sizzle in any way to me. It's like, oh, they did Heavy Char again. Well, it's still wheated this time, but
I almost would love it if it was a couple year break in between. So it's like, okay, you do the heavy bourbon, then you break it up with a couple other ones. Then you do the heavy rye, then you break it up with a couple other ones. But to have it back to back to back, it's like, okay.
It really beats a dead horse.
And you know me, admittedly, I am super biased for PHC. I love PHC. I always have. I always thought Parker Beam was a rock star. So I have this huge affinity for PHC. I kind of felt like my balloon got deflated a little bit when it got announced. I was like, because you always want to know what that PHC is going to be. And then it's like, oh, wait, Char again. Cool. All right. I mean, I'm sure I will like it. I'm sure I will try to get a bottle. But at the same time, I wanted something different. That's just me, my opinion.
No, I mean, there's nothing harder once you establish, a legacy or a mindset among people than trying to maintain, keep, or possibly even best that. But I guess kind of at the same time where you see everyone else trying to do new things or trying to find innovation, and it seems like they're regressing to a degree. I mean, think about Jack, for instance. And I'll say this very tongue-in-cheeky because by now most people know how we really feel about some or a lot of their products. But for how long was Jack basically like the basic bitch of whiskey? They had one offering, maybe two. But look at all the stuff they've had in the past 3 or 4 years with the Tennessee Tasters.
And even the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof is not that old compared to everything else,
Truth. So, but, kind of looking at it, because we all are of the mindset of what have you done for me lately and live in the now. But when you see something like that and they're really just hitting their stride in innovation and new and neat products that seem to really just jump to me. But then you've got the stalwart in Heaven Hill, one of the longest run distilleries, the oldest family owned one. I wouldn't say it seems like they're pushing in the clutch. I just feel like for an operation that big, that many open angles and doors, they've got to have some other stuff sitting around up there. I don't know.
I'm with you. Moving on, last question I will say is from our friend Jason, another bourbon guy. I love his name on Instagram because it's tongue-in-cheek, and he knows he's just another bourbon guy. I got to meet up with him recently at the Ardbeg Monsters of Smoke tour as it passed through Cool Springs Wine and Spirits. It's almost like, hey, check out Ardbeg Monsters of Smoke tour. Live on stage, another bourbon guy. Gravedigger. Bigfoot.
I was just amazed you took the kiddo to that one.
Well, I had to. I had a minute, but he asked, are you excited for the NFL? Preseason's back this weekend. Preseason games are back. Where the hell have you been, Zeke Baker?
My expression for everyone that couldn't see it was very generic and dumbfounded, not in the sense of the NFL, but in the sense of the question of who or why wouldn't we be?
I just wanted you to say yes, and then I was going to say yes, and then we could move on and actually talk about what we were drinking.
Oh, I mean, I thought you were leading into something amazing. I'm like,
no, just say yes.
You got it, dude.
Well, I concur. Let's move on. Tonight, we are drinking Basil Hayden Toast, a new style of bourbon marrying innovation and history in every sip. So this was released on August 2nd, 2021, just a week ago. Fast-growing super premium bourbon debuted their new elevated package for the first time since 1992. There has not been a new Basil Hayden package since 1992. It's a long damn time, Zeke Baker. So
they took it off for a little while. Is that not a new package?
Not really in design, with the paper and the ring around it, that kind of stuff. I mean,
TTB's going to shit.
Basil Hayden proudly announces the launch of Basil Hayden Toast, a super premium Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey and the newest addition to the award-winning Basil Hayden portfolio. Consisting of an entirely new mash bill, Basil Hayden Toast breaks away from preconceived notions of American whiskey to deliver an inviting spirit for both familiar and new bourbon drinkers. This was crafted by Freddie No. It represents a reimagining of Basil Hayden with the use of a toasted barrel in lieu of traditional rye. Basil Hayden Toast is made using U.S.-grown brown rice, which imparts a hint of sweetness and a touch less spice, while a secondary toasted finish draws out notes of, well, I'm not even going to say, yeah. After aging, toasted brown rice is blended back in with more brown rice bourbon, which has been rested in level 4 char barrels to achieve a final product with complex flavor. And again, they're giving us notes. Stop doing that, please, PR people. Stop saying notes. I don't want to know what the tasting notes you think we should get. But skipping over that, and it is the newest permanent expression. That's an important thing. This is not just an LTO that's coming out. This is a permanent expression to join the Basil Hayden portfolio. It marks the debut of a sophisticated design-forward packaging update for the brand that updates its most distinctive brand asset, the monogrammed belt. That's the hoop. To celebrate...
It always had the belt hoop thing.
They updated it. But what I don't know from this, and what I would love to know, is it just replacing the rye altogether with the mash bill? Because, I mean, it was a high rye mash bill, so is it just rice in lieu of rye?
I thought when we'd had a conversation about this before that got edited out, that it was going to be a 4-grain and that rye was remaining and brown rice was also just added in. But at least what my very, very bad Googling skills are showing me at this particular moment, I'm seeing that rye was omitted completely in favor of brown rice.
Well, and everybody that's writing about it that you're Googling from is probably using the same press release I have. I can only assume that the mash bill here, so typically Basil Hayden has 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% malted barley. I'm assuming at this point that it's 63 corn, 27 rice, and 10 barley. I mean, that's what the press release reads to me.
That's the impression that comes off of it. But Like I said, I thought in a previous conversation we'd had not too long ago that got cut out, this was more of a 4-grain type product that had the addition of rice, not necessarily using it as a replacement grain.
Interesting.
Maybe if you check the B-sides, you might be onto something there, Edwards.
I know, but I am not going to check the B-sides before we get this out. So I am just assuming that it is 63% corn, 27% rice, 10% barley. It doesn't say anything on here. Interesting in the press release. I mean, I feel like I'm dissecting the press release right now, but it is very interesting. They keep saying super premium because that was always a term that you would find in international markets. They would call bourbon super premium. I don't know if it's like a mind play. They're just trying to let us know that Basil Hayden is the premium 80 proof whiskey that's out there. Okay. But like, I feel like it's a trick. I feel like they're putting those words in strategically because they get paid a lot of money to know how to do that. But they've said super premium like 3 or 4 times in this press release.
Some people feel like Pei Wei is super premium Asian food. I don't know.
I mean, everybody knows like P.F. Chang's would be the premium, and then Pei Wei, because they're owned by the same company. Pei Wei is like the McDonald's, where P.F. Chang's is the Chipotle.
Either way, I don't eat it either. So the packaging.
Yeah.
Is it me, or is it actually pretty hard to like discern and read toast from where they placed it in the font color they used?
I mean, it's very gold. If the light hits it the right way, I feel like you would not read toast.
And if they really want to enhance that whole bronze belt thing, why not make it look toasted?
Well, I think they want to keep it the same for everyone and then just kind of change the piece of paper that's underneath it. But I always feel like the Basil Hayden package falls apart on you. Like, I always feel like the belt always stays, but the paper always gets ripped somehow.
Sounds like a bad college date.
What'd you think about this whiskey, Zeke Baker?
Nose-wise, I don't get a ton out of this. I mean, the only thing I really wrote down was faint red hots. I'll circle back again when you get your chance to ramble here and see if anything else comes out at me, or maybe you can provide some inspiration. Palate-wise, I thought there was a very mild spice throughout. It never really peaked or moved too high, but it was noticeable from, front to back. At the very beginning, it seemed very youthful, and I picked up some corn on the entry. It seemed rather light, and it kind of moved into just this consistent theme of a very like 30%-ish as far as range in the palate rye that just was there the whole time. I thought that the rye never really overwhelmed at any point, but it was just a strong theme. Toast and or any oak present really seemed to be MIA for me.
But I don't know how the rye can overwhelm. There's no rye.
Well, what I would perceive as rye. I mean, how many times have we done a show with the Wellers and people say the rye? So if you want me to
oh man, you got Wellers?
If you want me to re-record it, I will. But
now you know where I could get some Wellers though?
That's the memory of, or the essence you pick up.
How about Blanton's? You got Blanton's?
I got a left facing one coming soon.
Heck yeah, you do. The MSRP of this is $50. I'm going to start there. It's very tough for me. It's fine. Like, it's a good whiskey. If you like 80 proof and you like, but I almost think I'm over the gimmick of calling things toasted, because plenty of distilleries, for me, the whole toasted barrel phenomenon is like when Buffalo Trace put out kosher whiskey, because there's a whole bunch of kosher whiskey that's already out there, and it's just kosher by nature. Like the way that they go through their distilling process, it's kosher, but they weren't like out to make it kosher. It's just the nature of the beast. And there are plenty of distilleries that char and toast their barrels and have, and plenty of cooperages that char and toast their barrels. Like, toasting is not a new concept. And I feel like this is kind of a marketing gimmick. I think it would have been cooler to celebrate the rice aspect of this rather than the toast aspect of it. I mean, that's where the innovation is on this one. I feel like it almost misses the mark because we talked about it in the questions that we were getting and the copycat stuff. calling things toasted is a copycat move. I almost think it would have been a better play to put it under the Beam label, have there be a Beam toasted, and you can put it like $25 where those kind of Beam products really fit in and people love it and it's a great move on your end. And then have this Basil Hayden rice be the premium side of it and talk about the rice aspect of it. Hell, you could still toast the barrels all you want. A bunch of distilleries already do that, but there's nothing new with the toasted aspect of it. But the rice is a crazy new thing. I know I didn't give tasting notes, but I just have a problem with the way this has been rolled out.
I'm pretty sure rice didn't test very well in the markets they used.
What, they could have put a whole bunch of rice on that paper label in the front instead of the flame that they have right now?
Beam's been effing around with rice for a minute. Think back to those 375 signatures, which were some years ago now. There were rice mash bills involved back then, which it was put out years ago. It was an aged product. This ain't nothing new for them. It might be new to most people's eyes, but new to them in tinkering and probably having a fair amount of experimental things or barrels and getting some documentation and some data on it. I'm just going to err on the side of they've got some history here by now.
Yeah, they do. But I think that not a lot of other people have that history. So why not celebrate the rice part of it and kind of be able to be like, hey, first, rather than be the 7th, 8th, 9th distillery that puts out toasted.
Hey, they could have sold these barrels to Heaven Hill.
They could have. But that's just my take. I mean, it's creamy. Here's the thing, because I'm not, I know you're trying to troll me here, but I'm not differing from you too much. It's just middle of the road. There's not a lot of peaks. There's not a lot of valleys. I think it makes for a very easy sipper with the rice and the toast. It is what we thought it is. And I always kind of think that Basil Hayden for me is a little bit more expensive than I'd want to pay for it for what I'm getting from it. But again, we're not the target audience. You know, we are not the target audience here of Basil because we're drinking higher proof stuff.
I don't think it's about the proof. First, I'll give you a bit of a rant here. I hope it doesn't go too far. But I think Basil, and granted, I love Jim Beam.
Yeah, you and I both.
Than most people, especially any I know. Basil is a lifestyle product or brand, however you want to look at it or call it. It is. It looks a certain way and it costs a certain amount so that it fits needs for a certain clientele. Most know that it's not going to be consumed neat. It will end up in a cocktail or at least with ice or water or whatever other additives, for lack of better words. But what Basil does well, and even with whether this is rye plus rice or all brown rice, it's the rye kick. It's not a flavor. All right, now, and again, if this is rice all the way, I'm still going to call it the rye kick. Call me ignorant.
It's the rice kick.
For whatever, for better or for worse, that's what I'm sticking with here because that's how I'm going to equate it in my brain, which is pretty simple.
You got the rice stuff.
They don't put rice in Oreos yet, but that kick that's consistent the whole way through. You put this in a cocktail, it's still going to be there. Does it necessarily add or impart flavor? No. But is it enough so that especially on the back third of that tasting, swallow, pour, whatever you want to call, you get enough of a kick to know you're drinking something with alcohol. I'm having a cocktail. Even though you don't get any other attributes really from the product, you get that internal self-satisfaction of having a drink because you feel the kick. That's what it satisfies. And that's where it goes back to more of a lifestyle brand and a look and a feel than, to me, what I would consider a whiskey product.
I think that's fair. And I think that's probably, I hate to say this and give you a compliment, but that's probably the best way anybody has ever put Basil Hayden to me.
I went deep on that one. I felt really good about it. That's why I was stretching first.
Yeah, I was like, where is he going here? And then I was like, oh, that ass is right. Like, he's 100% right. It is the kick. Yeah, I feel you. I 100% feel you here.
And again, it's not a dig. If you're going to be a huge brand, which Beam obviously is, and you're going to try to appeal to all types of different clientele, you got to have different products. But I mean, I really think that that's what the beauty of Basil is, at the proof it is to have that punch. So that no matter what you mix or however you serve it up, the consumer gets the feeling and the internal sensation of consuming alcohol. Again, package looks good. Anyone can go to a store and find it. They can price check you. Like, was he serving me swill yesterday? Oh, that's kind of pricey. He served me his better whiskey. It fits a weird niche. It's probably not most people listen to us is niche, but if you really think of it in that broad terms or spectrum, I think it's there.
I think that makes complete sense. I mean, especially because a lot of the tasting note is very middle of the road for me. I mean, I wish I had specifics, but the reason I don't is because it's like, well, yeah, it's bourbon. Yeah, it's there. It's a little grassy on the nose. And then you go through and it's like, well, I don't have anything amazing to say about it, but I don't have anything bad to say about it. And then, oh, wait, there's that kick. And I think that's kind of what happens. It's like, it's right in the middle and then boom, jumps up at the end. If you have that in a cocktail, you're drinking it with a splash of ginger or a splash of water, or you're putting it, with some rocks in a glass or whatever it is. It's like that kick at the end. Even if you water it down with some ice or some water or whatever it is, that's still going to be there. You're like, oh yeah, I'm still drinking bourbon.
Back to the, application or the term of toasted. I think we're much better to circle back to, the college days, like I said earlier, where toasted is, all the paper fell off, but the belt stayed on, and then you just had something toasted with you.
I am going to finish this saying that if you have $50 and you like Basil Hayden, you will like this one. Sorry, I like it more than a regular Basil Hayden. Do I like it $15 more than a regular Basil Hayden? And I know, like, at this point, at $35 to $50, you're really, it's semantics at a certain point. But if you like Basil Hayden and you want to splurge a little bit, like, you're not going to be disappointed. It's not a bad whiskey. I wish I had more of, but I don't think that's the point of this. You're not going to sit there and, jump up and down at our palates where we are the type of people we're looking that are like us. We're not jumping up and down for 80 proof bourbon, no matter what it is.
For the intended audience, I think it's a home run.
Yes. And I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you to Basil Hayden for sending us a sample of this. By no means were we trying to say anything bad. It's just, I think Zeke summed it up right. And he is a winner tonight. For the intended audience, this is a home run. We're not the intended audience. Find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us wherever you download your podcast. You already have. So why don't you leave us a review? It really helps. Leave us an open, honest review, just like we leave open, honest reviews about the whiskey we drink. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Music City, US of A.
Cheers.
Ciao.